All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are tackling one of the most common and, let's be honest, one of the most frustrating denials you're going to see in medical billing: member not eligible. Now, this thing can feel like a total dead end, but trust me, with the right game plan, it's a roadblock you can get around every single time.
So, imagine this. The denial lands on your desk. Member not eligible. The patient's policy just wasn't active. What's your very next move? Without a clear, repeatable plan, this one little denial can bring your whole AR process to a screeching halt.
So first, let's get crystal clear on what this denial actually means. Member not eligible, or sometimes you'll see it as policy terminated, really means just one of two things. Either the patient's coverage ended before the date of service, or their new coverage hadn't quite kicked in yet. The insurance carrier is basically just saying, hey, on this specific day, for this specific service, this person was not covered by this policy. Simple as that.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start by really understanding the denial. Then we'll walk through a three-step process: verify, find, and escalate. And then at the end, we'll pull it all together into a really simple, effective workflow that you can start using right away.
Okay, let's kick things off by digging into the why behind this denial. Honestly, knowing what triggers it is the absolute first step in figuring out how to solve it.
At its heart, this denial really just boils down to a timing problem. I mean, think about it. This happens all the time. A patient changes jobs, they switch insurance plans, or maybe there's just a short little lapse in their coverage. The date of service simply falls outside the active window of the policy you build. So your first job is to figure out which of these two scenarios you're dealing with.
And that brings us right to our first real action item: verify the policy. Before you do anything else, you've got to put on your detective hat and just confirm the facts of the case.
Seriously, do not just take the denial at face value. We all know mistakes can happen. The most important thing here is that your first move is always to double-check if the insurance carrier is even correct. Was the patient actually ineligible on that date of service? You have to know for sure.
So here's the play-by-play. First, grab the denial date and the claim number. You'll need those. Next, get on the phone with the insurance carrier. You need to ask the rep for two very specific things: the policy's effective date and its termination date. Once you've got those two dates, you can check them against your date of service and see if they really do have a mismatch.
And what's really great here is that this whole process lines up perfectly with a tool you're probably already using. If you look at your denials cheat sheet, right there under coverage terminated, you'll find these exact questions. See, this isn't about reinventing the wheel. It's just about using the tools you already have, but with real precision.
Okay, so you've made the call, you've done your verification, and it turns out the denial is correct. The policy was not active. Well, that brings us right to step 2, find other coverage. So what now?
Right. This is the pivot point. The information you had turned out to be wrong. So now, your mission completely changes from just verifying a denial to actually finding the correct, active coverage for that date of service.
And since you're already on the phone with the insurance rep, just start there. Ask them point blank, is there any other active policy for this member? If they say yes, that's fantastic. Grab all the new policy details so you can rebill. If they say no, your next stop is to check your own internal records. Go look in the charge bag or in the patient's file for any other insurance info you might have on record. But what happens if the carrier has nothing and your own files come up empty? Well, now it's time to escalate. And that brings us to our final investigative step: escalate for information.
Yep, when you've officially exhausted all your own resources, it's time to reach out. Your goal is exactly the same: find that correct insurance info, but now you have to get that information from an outside source.
So, this slide lays out your two main options. First, call the surgeon's office. They are often your best bet for the most current patient insurance information. Now, if you can't get through to them, or maybe they don't have the info either, your final move is to raise an information request, or an IR. This creates a formal, trackable inquiry to go get the data you need. All right, let's pull all of these pieces together into your official resolution workflow. This is a clear, repeatable process that will take you from the moment you see that denial all the way to resolution.
And here it is, the complete workflow, boiled down into 3 simple steps. Step 1, verify the policy dates with the carrier. Step 2, search for other coverage by asking the carrier and checking your own files. And if that doesn't work, step 3, escalate by contacting the surgeon's office or raising an IR. Verify, search, escalate. It's a clear path to follow every time.
So let's end with this thought. A denial for member not eligible really shouldn't be seen as a dead end. It's just the start of a logical investigative process. With this workflow, you have a clear path to follow every single time, turning what feels like a common problem into a totally solvable puzzle.